Destiny 2 can be a confusing game for new players, so I'm here to help guide you through if you're new to the game. Welcome to the Ultimate Destiny 2 Beginner's Guide. Before we even get playing, we have to make a character, of which we can pick 3 classes: Titan, Warlock, or Hunter. You get 3 character slots, so you don't have to stress about which one to pick right away, and I recommend trying all of them before you decide which one to main. Other than the appearance, the difference between these classes are their skills. Titans specialize in shields and melee. Their supers range from running around punching to throwing around a shield like Captain America. You can also throw hammers like Thor. Titans are able to create shields for themselves and allies that grant special bonuses. Their grenades consist of what I call normal military-like grenades. Their melee ability is essentially what you'd think it'd be: punching. As you can tell by its name, Warlocks specialize in magic-like abilities. Their melees are straightforward and usually just consist of slapping enemies with some magic force. For their supers, they can throw a giant black hole-like ball, launch flames through a fire sword, and electrocute their enemies. Warlock grenades tend to be a small energy ball, usually to create an area of effect to kill weak enemies. Hunters are debatably the best looking of the 3 if you like their cloaks. They are able to dodge and use knives for their melee. Their supers are a wide variety, from becoming like McCree from Overwatch
Double kill.
to becoming invisible and assassinating enemies. Their grenades have a lot of utility as well, as they can be used to set enemies on fire or set up trip mines. Overall, you can probably tell that there's a lot to classes and their skills. Too much for me to explain here for a short guide, so I recommend you trying them all out for yourself to see what you like. Next, let's jump into what to do. For starters, I recommend going into the hangar and talking to Amanda Holiday to start the Red War. This is the campaign questline for the base game. Going through the story will be the best way for you to understand the game and have a great time. If you have the expansions, you can also play those expansion campaigns through Amanda Holiday. Other than the story quests, there are several other things you can do for fun. The primary 3 activity modes that you can play are Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible. Crucible is the PvP mode for Destiny 2, and it has a lot of different PvP match options. Gambit is a hybrid between PvE and PvP, where teams compete to defeat enemies and occasionally fight each other to slow down the opposing team. If you're not into PvP, that's also fine. Not doing PvP won't stop you from progressing and doing new content. Strikes are PvE missions in squads of 3, where you can simply play through a mission and participate in challenging weekly strikes. There are also public events on planets and seasonal public events that you can partake in as well. If you're into quests, there are numerous quests that you can pick up on different planets to get special weapons and gear. From lasers to swords, Destiny offers a wide range of weapons to use. For the most part, all weapons are different in their own way. Even weapons with the same name can be different. Each weapon has their perks, which are unique traits that can boost reload speed, damage, or other things. There are lots of weapons and armor in the game, and I suggest trying each of them out since everyone has their own preferences and playstyle. For example, I'm not the best at aiming and prefer weapons with a fast rate of fire, so I tend to stick with auto rifles and sidearms. For armor, the main focus will be on their stats. Each armor piece grants varying stats. Mobility increases your speed, resilience increases your HP, recovery increases how fast you recover, discipline affects the cooldown of your grenades, intellect affects the cooldown of your super, and strength affects the cooldown of your melee. In the tower, there's also a vault to store your items in case your inventory ever gets full or if you want to save them for the future. And in the event that your inventory is full and you can't get an item, it'll be sent to the postmaster, which will hold on to it for you, but be careful because the postmaster only has 30 slots. You may have noticed that your class abilities and gear all have their own element. So far, the elements in Destiny are Solar, Void, and Arc. For weapons and class skills, the energy is used to break down enemy shields. You may notice that some enemies have a colored shield, and when you shoot them with the corresponding element, their shield will quickly break, stun the enemy, and do additional damage. For the elements on your armor, the element will determine which kind of mods you can attach onto the armor piece. For example, certain mods can only be applied to a certain element. Mods are like additional perks that you can attach onto your armor and weapons. These can range from stat boosts to anti-barrier ammo. There's far too many mods in the game for me to explain them all, but they have pretty self-explanatory descriptions. You can get mods through the gunsmith, seasonal vendors, and simply by playing the game. I didn't really focus on getting mods, and I've amassed a decent amount. Destiny has special items called exotics, which are weapons or armor that have a special ability. There are over 100 exotics, and each can be used in general or niche situations. There are exotics that leave an AoE, create nanites that attack nearby enemies, or boots that reload your ammo while running. As you can probably tell, there are too many quirky exotics for me to list. The downside is that you're only allowed to equip one exotic weapon and one exotic armor at a time. You can get exotics from quests, random drops, and Xur, a weekly vendor. Xur will show up with random exotics each weekend, but in a different location, so make sure to look up where he is each week. If you're dying too much, it's probably because your light level is too low. You can increase your light level by equipping higher level gear or infusing higher level gear onto your current gear in the event that you like what you already have. Up to a certain point, any drop will have a chance to grant gear that is a higher light level. After a soft cap, you'll have to rely on certain tasks to get powerful and pinnacle engrams to increase your light level. These level caps increase each season, but engrams are typically the best way to increase your level. On top of your light level, there's also a season level, which resets each season. The season level grants exotics, gear, and materials when reaching a certain level. You can get season EXP just from killing enemies, but the best way is through bounties. Bounties also provide other rewards, but I usually don't pay attention to those. There are weekly, daily, and repeatable bounties that reset accordingly. NPCs will have bounties for their respective game modes or planets, so make sure to complete all the easy ones for quick season leveling. Bounties are relatively simple, and they usually ask the player to kill a certain enemy type or use a certain weapon type. There are two main types of endgame content in Destiny: dungeons and raids. While dungeons can be soloed, I wouldn't recommend it. Destiny does not allow for matchmaking in endgame content, so you'll need friends to squad up with. If you don't have any friends, then there's plenty of communities, including Discord, that are constantly recruiting for raid and dungeon runs. There are several raids available in Destiny and can take a few hours to complete if not everyone on your team is experienced. Dungeons can be completed much faster, but can be just as challenging. Each dungeon and raid is unique, so I can't really go too far in depth about them. As you might expect, they also offer their own unique loot pools. Overall, dungeons and raiding is highly satisfying and fun. Other than dungeons and raids, other endgame content consists of completing certain missions on the hardest difficulty, such as the weekly strike, and that's all there is to learn as a beginner. I hope you're able to learn something and are well on your way to having fun in Destiny 2. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed or learned something, leave a like and subscribe. And if I missed anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments below.